Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready to plug in, folks, because today we are diving headfirst into the global virtual reality gaming market.
We are. And our guide for this journey is a pretty fresh market report. It's from Cognitive Market Research, updated just this March 2025.
Okay, great. So, our mission today basically cut through the noise, pull out the key stuff from this report. We want to get a handle on the size, the crazy growth, what makes up the market.
Right, who's using it, where it's all happening globally.
Exactly. And what's driving it, who the big players are, the whole picture.
And probably the best place to start is with the headline numbers. The report estimates the global VR gaming market size right now in 2025 at USD 42,869.2 million.
Okay, 42.8 billion. That's already pretty substantial. But what's the future look like? Where's it headed?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The report projects this market isn't just, growing steadily. It's set to absolutely balloon,
Balloon, how much?
reaching USD 217,387.26 million by 2033.
Whoa. Wait, say that again? 217 billion.
Yep, 217 billion.
It's what, over 5 times bigger than now in less than a decade?
Exactly. That translates to a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 22.50% between 2025 and 2033.
Wow.
And, the report's data goes back to 2021, uses 2024 as the base year, and forecasts out to 2033.
Okay, a 22.5% CAGR. That definitely jumps off the page.
Right.
So how does the report, break this massive market down? What are the pieces?
It looks at it a couple of ways. First, by its components. Think hardware, software, and services.
Right. Hardware, software, services. Which one's the biggest slice right now?
Hardware. The report says it's dominating the market share currently.
And why is that? Makes sense intuitively, but what do they say?
Well, it comes down to a few things. Big tech firms, game studios, they're pouring money into R&D, making headsets, controllers, all that gear better, cheaper, easier to use. And the popularity of those portable standalone headsets like the MetaQuest devices, that's really lowered the barrier to entry. Cost, complexity. It's just easier to get into VR now.
Yeah, you don't need the high-end PC quite as much anymore for a decent experience.
Exactly. Plus, as the games themselves get more sophisticated, you just need better, more efficient hardware to run them smoothly. That demand keeps growing.
So the physical gear is sort of the entry ticket, but, a headset's just a paperweight without good stuff to actually do in VR.
Precisely. And that brings us to software. Now, while hardware is the biggest chunk now, the report flags software as the fastest growing segment.
Okay, fastest growing. Why the speed there?
Because software is the experience, right? It's what creates those immersive worlds. It's where the innovation happens. You've got big studios, but also tons of indie developers now.
Right, adding creativity.
Yeah, building all sorts of diverse content, action games, social hubs, simulators, you name it. And constant updates, new games that keeps people engaged and pulls new users in. So software growth is really vital.
Got it. Hardware's the gateway, software's the reason you stay and keep coming back. Okay, so flipping from the what to the who, how does the report look at the end users?
They split it into two main groups, individual users and commercial users.
And I'm guessing most people diving in are individuals playing at home. Does the report back that up?
It does, yeah. The individual segment holds the lion's share right now. A big part of that is the appeal of multiplayer VR.
The social side.
Definitely. Cooperative games, competitive stuff. Playing with people in VR is a huge draw. The report also mentions the rise of user-generated content platforms.
So people making their own stuff.
Exactly. Creating and sharing their own VR worlds or experiences. That builds really strong community feel. Plus, customization options let players really personalize things, which boosts satisfaction.
That all tracks with broader gaming trends that focus on community and social connection. What about the commercial side then, like arcades, training, that sort of thing?
That segment's definitely expanding, and fast. Businesses are seeing VR as a way to offer really unique, memorable customer experiences.
Right. Something you can't easily get at home.
Exactly. Think VR arcades, entertainment centers. They need fresh attractions. VR offers these novel group activities, often social, where multiple people can play together in the same virtual space. That's a big pull for venues trying to attract customers and drive revenue.
Makes sense. It's a distinct offering for out-of-home entertainment. Okay, so we've got components, we've got users. What about the geography? Where is all this VR gaming happening?
Yeah, the report maps it out globally. North America is currently leading the pack, over 40% of the market revenue.
40%? How much is that in dollars for 2025?
They estimate it at USD 15,861.6 billion for 2025. And it's got a solid growth projection, too, a CAGR of 20.8% through 2033.
Okay, a strong leader. Who's number two?
Europe. Yep. Europe over 30% market share. That's about USD 12,432.07 million in 2025. And their growth rate is actually projected slightly higher than North America's at 21.4% CAGR.
Interesting. And Asia Pacific, huge gaming population there.
APAC holds around 23% share currently, roughly USD 10,288.61 million in 2025. But here's the kicker. The report singles out APAC as the fastest growing region globally, projected CAGR of 25.6%.
Okay, so North America's the biggest right now, but APAC is closing the gap faster percentage-wise. What about other regions?
South America represents just over 5% share, about $1.6 billion in 2025, growing at 23.3%. The Middle East is around 2%, 1.7 billion, growing at 24.0%.
Still strong growth rates.
Very strong.
Yeah.
And Africa holds about 1%, just under $1 billion, projected at 22.8% CAGR. It's really striking how healthy the growth looks pretty much everywhere.
It really feels like a global shift. Now, the report dives into specific countries too, right? Anything stand out there?
It does give that more granular view. Like in North America, no surprise, the U.S. is the giant. The report does add these little notes, like mentioning governmental regulations as part of the context in the U.S.
Okay.
And for Canada, it notes rising awareness around electric power. Now, the direct link to VR gaming isn't always spelled out for these points.
Right, it sounds like they're just painting a broader picture of the conditions in each place.
Exactly. Just relevant background factors the report includes.
Gotcha. What about key countries in Europe?
Well, Germany and the UK are major players. The report notes, for Germany, the presence of major market players is a factor. For the UK, it points to rising demand for innovative tech. So you see these hints of specific regional drivers. France, Russia, Italy are also significant.
And in that fast-growing APAC region, China was huge.
Dominant, yeah. The report mentions manufacturers and major players focusing there. But interestingly, while China's the biggest market value-wise,
Yeah.
India actually has the highest country-level CAGR listed in the whole report, a massive 27.5%.
27.5, wow.
Yeah.
That really highlights the potential there.
It really does. And South Korea is big, too. The report notes something interesting there, increasing worries about environmental sustainability being part of the discussion. Again, it's these broader context points.
Yeah. Fascinating how they weave those details in. What about, say, South America or the Middle East? Any country highlights?
Brazil's key in South America. The report mentions demand for energy-efficient sources as background there. And for Argentina, it notes rising personal disposable income. In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and UAE are significant, with notes about things like major players in Qatar or regulatory support in Turkey.
So it sounds like the report gives a rich tapestry of data, including these broader economic or regulatory notes for context in each country.
That's a good way to put it. It's not just the VR numbers in isolation.
Okay, moving beyond the numbers and geography,
Yeah.
what does the report say is actually pushing this market forward, the main drivers?
It lists a few key ones. Number one is just the faster development of VR hardware tech. Things are getting better, faster, cheaper, more accessible. That's huge.
It makes sense.
Then there's growing awareness and support for content production, more people making games, experiences, basically more reasons to buy the hardware.
Right, the content pipeline.
And third, just ongoing R&D. Lots of investment across the board is pushing the technology forward.
Better tech, more content, more innovation. Seems like a strong foundation.
Yeah.
What about things holding it back? Any restraints mentioned?
Yeah, a couple of main ones. Price fluctuations for raw materials that could obviously impact hardware costs.
Sure, supply chain stuff.
Exactly. And also strict environmental rules, which could affect manufacturing. Standard concerns for hardware industries, really.
Okay. And specific trends shaping the future.
Yes, two big ones highlighted. First, the growing popularity of cooperative VR games in online sports. The report explicitly says this trend will help the market expand. So that social competitive angle is key.
Social VR driving growth. Got it.
And second, just the overall trend of technological development, continuous improvement across the board.
So social gaming and tech progress are major tailwinds. Now, what about the companies actually in this space? Who does the report name as the major players?
It's a real mix. You've got the giants like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, EA, established gaming players dipping in. Then huge tech players like Meta, obviously, with Quest, Samsung, Google, HTC, who are early leaders in VR hardware. And then more specialized companies, too, like Virtuix, Ultraleap, Qualcomm, Tesla Studios, LucidCam.com focused maybe on specific tech like tracking or peripherals.
That's a diverse list. Shows how many different angles there are into this market. Did the report highlight any specific recent moves by these companies?
It mentioned a couple of things under the competitive landscape section. In December 2024, it noted Google launching an Indian linguistic platform.
Okay. Not directly VR gaming.
Not obviously, no. And the other was Microsoft and Cognizant partnering up in April 2024 around Microsoft's AI tools like copilots for businesses.
Again, seems a bit tangential to VR gaming.
It does on the surface.
Mm.
But the report includes these points when discussing the key competitors in the VR gaming space. So the interpretation seems to be that the broader strategic moves of these massive tech companies.
Like Google and Microsoft.
Yeah. Their activities in areas like AI or regional platforms are considered relevant to their overall position and potential influence, even within a specific market like VR gaming. It shows how interconnected things are in their larger strategies.
That's actually a really interesting perspective. It's not just about the specific VR headset or game they released last quarter, but their overall tech ecosystem play.
Exactly. It suggests VR isn't just a silo. It's part of these companies' bigger picture.
Okay, so let's zoom back out. We've covered a lot of ground thanks to this cognitive market research report. What's the big picture takeaway here?
Well, we're talking about a VR gaming market that's already substantial, over $42 billion now, but is projected to just explode. Over $217 billion by 2033. That's driven by that really impressive 22.5% CAGR.
And breaking it down, hardware is the big piece now, but software is growing fastest, driving the actual experiences and innovation.
Right. And individuals are the main users, drawn by social gaming and customization. But the commercial side is expanding quickly too, offering unique location-based experiences.
Geographically, North America leads in size, but Asia-Pacific is the one to watch for growth rate, with countries like India showing incredible potential. It's truly global.
And the whole thing is being pushed forward by better hardware, more content, and ongoing R&D with social gaming trends adding extra fuel. There are some potential bumps like material costs, but the overall trajectory looks incredibly strong.
It really does. It's clearly moved way beyond a niche interest. So given this rapid growth, the accelerating tech, the huge investments we're seeing, here's something to think about. How might VR gaming fundamentally change our whole idea of what gaming even means, and maybe even how we interact socially, in the next decade or so?